Good evening. Hope everybody's doing well tonight. First off, I want to jump out right in front and say that the incident that happened in Arizona with the truck, the hazardous chemical spill, it is the first story we're going to cover. But I just want right out the gate to say this is in no way comparison at all to what's going on in Ohio and Pennsylvania, and we'll see. Man, I don't know if what I'm hearing is accurate involving the Ohio situation, but from what I'm gathering, I was watching Tim Pool before I came on. They were talking about it, and I'm kind of under the impression that this situation could get widespread pretty quick. It's very likely entered the water supplies there. It's very likely entered I believe it is the Ohio River. And that leads right on into the Mississippi. Now, they showed a map. Tim showed a map. And it was a pretty significant area that they had colored. I believe what they were indicating would be an affected area. And my goodness, it was a rather large chunk of area. I would say maybe a seventh or an eighth of the U.S. I don't think it's quite big as a sixth of the U.S. Maybe a seventh or an eighth from what the image was they were showing. Basically a band all the way down the Ohio River leading into the Mississippi. Luckily, where we are, according to that map, our particular area wouldn't be affected because, we're probably about the same latitude, if I've got that right, as what this incident is. So, fortunately for us, we wouldn't be downstream in any way. So, but I'm telling you, this is insane. I mean, they're even possibly, from my understanding, talking about issues in Tennessee. I think it was Tennessee. Man, I don't know, and I'm not confident that we have a government that'll be honest with the people. They haven't been so many times before. In fact, usually the only time that they are honest is when independent labs test whatever it may be, water, soil, whatever it may be, and give them a straight answer on the true levels of the different toxins in that. This is something that has been going on for a long time. It's been going on for the most part for, probably a little over a decade when it comes to just drinking water out of your tap. A lot of places are saying, our water's fine. But when people send in their own water sample, turns out not so much. In fact, a lot of people focus on Flint, Michigan when it comes to lead. And Flint's not even the worst. Not even close to the worst, and that's freaky. Most people have no idea just how bad the infrastructure is for our water in the United States. There's so many different places that are drinking high levels of toxins and heavy metals in their water and have no idea. Why? Because nobody's told them about it. If you're ever curious, send in a sample. I don't know what it costs or anything like that, but from my understanding, just about everybody who does it is absolutely shocked with the results. That's why I've got the little homemade Berkey in there, and I use it religiously. Everything that we drink comes through the Berkey. Everything Blue drinks comes through that. And it's got both the carbon and the heavy metal filters, so hopefully we're good on that. And I'm telling you, they do this thing where they switch out, and I can't remember if they call it free chlorine or whatever, but they switch the water up, the chemicals in the water. They do it spring and fall. And one of the two times, I don't remember which time it is, but one of the two times when they do it, I get such this thick brown sludge built up on those carbon filters. It's unreal. And I look at that, and I mean, it's unreal how thick it is. And yikes, we would be drinking that if I wasn't filtering it out. It's crazy. I hear you there, Christopher. I definitely hear you there with the well. Yeah. You know, the most ideal thing I can think of is to have property that has, you know, like an underground river going on that you could tap into, or even a good underground spring or something like that. But at some point, hell, it's probably all going to be bad to drink. So it's unreal. It's unreal. And you know, water is probably one of the most valuable resources. Of course, I think clean air would probably come just a little bit ahead of it. But man, oh man, oh man, what are we gonna do? And the sad thing is there's so many places right now that's already in trouble when it comes to water, whether it be drought situations or whether it be toxin situations or what have you. But then you've got things like Nestle, not to name a company, but they're not the only one. But they are one of the big ones doing it. They're buying up rights to all kinds of water, and they're taking just absorbent amounts of water for their bottling and stuff. And, you know, everybody else is too damn bad. Too damn bad if the farmers don't have water to irrigate their crops with. Too damn bad if entire towns have to close up shop and move away because they're not allowed to have the water they need. But Nestle gets theirs, or X company, whatever, gets theirs because it's in the contract. Because it's in the contract. It's insane. I keep saying that our country has been sold out from underneath of us, and I mean that. Lock, stock, and barrel. It's not a play on words or anything like that. Our nation has been sold out from underneath of us. Every damn square inch at this point. It's unreal. It's unreal. I would tell those individuals that could possibly be in the path of the craziness from Ohio to keep an eye on stuff. You know, if you live close enough or you got enough concern, send in a sample. Don't rely on what the government tells you, because the FDA is famous for this. If something in a particular supply gets to be too high of a level, so the FDA will come in, and instead of saying, oh, well, you got to fix this problem, no, they raise the acceptable amount that a human being can have. That's how they fix the problem. They don't take away the problem. They just move that bar up higher for when it supposedly becomes a problem. They've been doing this for decades. It's crazy. It's absolutely crazy. So yeah, I see the stuff, and who knows how bad this is going to turn out. But even with this off the table, we've got to fix this problem. I mean, this is a big problem. The problem, and the other problem on top of that is because the government's got so much control over the water now, can we fix it? Or would we all just wind up behind bars because we're trying to make sure everybody gets a fair amount of water? Is this the terrorism that they were warning about when it comes to the water supplies? Is this what it is? The terrorism, people demanding that they have their water? I guess we'll find out. Anyway, I do have several tabs open tonight. Looks like 8. And first one, dealing with this truck in Arizona. And then, yeah, we'll get there. Truck with hazardous chemicals crashes in the U.S. after a tractor trailer carrying chemicals flipped over on Interstate 10 south of Tucson on Tuesday. Arizona authorities worked to evacuate residents in a mile's radius and urged others to close windows and turn off air conditioners. Hazmat release on I-10, individuals within 1 mile radius should shelter in place, set an emergency alert that went out around 4:30 p.m. local time. The truck was reportedly carrying nitric acid, commonly used as an oxidizing agent and in the production of fertilizer, inks, dyes, and explosives. The spill threatened the Rita Ranch community southeast of Tucson. Local residents were told to seek shelter immediately and turn off any device that used outside air. The department's Hazardous Materials Response Unit, along with partner agencies, are working together to mitigate the incident, the Arizona Department of Public Safety said in a statement. Out of an abundance of caution, first responders are working to evacuate a perimeter around the area of the incident. State Department of Transportation said the section of Interstate 10 between Kolb Road and Houghton Road was closed in both directions with no timetable to reopen. The Tucson highway incident comes amid the heightened scrutiny of U.S. chemical transport infrastructure, and then it goes into the deal with Ohio. So, this here, though, in Arizona says local authorities said environmental readings were normal as of Sunday. Locals who returned shared photos of dogs, fox. Oh, this was in the Ohio one. Sorry. I thought maybe they were going back to the Tucson one, but no. Anyway, pretty bad when you have to keep straight which chemical spills you're talking about. All right. No crayon trucks, huh? Yeah, I'm telling you, man. It's nuts. But I think really, like with this one in Arizona, we would have probably never have heard that. If it wouldn't have been for the situation ongoing with Ohio, we'd have never even heard that headline. So, let's see. U.S. to tap oil reserves to offset Russian production cut. Well, that's nice of Biden. The administration of U.S. President said on Monday that it will go ahead with a scheduled sale of 26 million barrels of crude oil from this country's Strategic Petroleum Reserve, or the SPR. The move comes on the heels of Russia's announcement that it will curtail output by 500,000 barrels per day next month. The release has been mandated by Congress. You know, the oil, the country that's sanctioned to death, Russia. Yeah, it just makes no sense. The release has been mandated by Congress and is in line with budget directives enacted in 2015 for the current fiscal year. A spokesperson for the U.S. Department of Energy said, last year, the Biden administration sold a record 180 million barrels of crude from the SPR in an effort to tame rising fuel prices. Let me just throw something out there in the air. You notice that, we're like a hair away from direct combat with Russia. We're accusing China of flying over spy balloons. But at the same time that all of this bad stuff is going on, our countries are trading like a mofo. You realize how much U.S.-China trade is going on? Tons. And in fact, all China would have to do to screw us up bad is stop exporting to us. That's all. If Russia stopped exporting oil, what do you think would happen? So while we're watching this TV miniseries called Ukraine versus Russia, remember that this is the friendliest conflict that I think I've seen yet. The fact that it hasn't even remotely started to become unfriendly when it comes to trade is what has me questioning it so much. The puzzle pieces just don't fit for the claims that are being made. Just don't. And I think it's, like I've said, TV miniseries. And I think they're going to bring down everything, the economy, food, just general overall wellness, probably energy. They're going to bring it all down. They're going to bring us to our knees until we beg for them to save us. And that's going to be the one world currency, one world government. You know the drill. Whether you're a supporter, follower of the good book or not, I think we all understand about the one world government. We're right there. We're right on the doorstep of that right now. But the only way in hell that they're going to be able to get damn near the entire planet of people to just go along to get along is to first take them down to their knees. That, I am certain, is our future. It's kind of a crazy thought. Oh, man. Wait. No. Did I make it? Or am I like a half a week late? Did I make it? I don't know. I don't know if I made it or not. I might be about a half a week late. Because apparently F-16s for Kiev they're still on the table. I'll be damned. I thought you said you weren't going to do that. Huh. U.S. could provide Ukraine with modern warplanes or at least approve their transfer from other countries, the Financial Times reported on Monday, citing sources. The decision may come despite U.S. President Joe Biden recently stating that Washington would not send F-16 fighter jets to Kiev. Remember, this is how the tanks went too, and everything else. According to American officials cited in the report, they are likely to provide Ukraine with more sophisticated air power as the war drags on. Another possible solution is to greenlight the re-export of F-16s to Ukraine from other nations. NATO Secretary General Jens Stoltenberg said the issue of jet deliveries is slated to be discussed during a meeting of NATO defense ministers on Tuesday. However, two people familiar with the matter also told FT that sending more planes to Kiev is a longer-term objective, which is much less pressing than providing it with ammunition. One U.S. official echoed that sentiment, describing fighter jets as less important in the near term, while stressing that the West now has to concentrate on boosting Ukraine's air defenses. They'll do that to protect airspace through air defense artillery equipped with the proper ammunition. Fighter jets are not and will not be used as capable not be as capable against the Russian Air Force in an integrated air defense system, he said. So they're basically letting you know that you can expect it. They're warming you up to it, just like they've done everything else so far. But wait, there's more. Now what are we saying we aren't going to give them? I mean, what's the spoiler alert today? Oh, well, U.S. has no long-range missiles for Ukraine. Nah, we can't give them that. Nope. We cannot. Absolutely no. No, we cannot give them long-range missiles. No. Not for another 2 or 3 weeks. Maybe in 2 or 3 weeks we can give them long-range missiles, but not today, no. No. It's ridiculous, man. I mean, it's a bad TV miniseries. I didn't say bad before. It's a bad TV miniseries. It's the kind that even Netflix would decide to cancel before they even aired it, right? That bad? That's how bad it is. Russia wants U.S. Let's try this again. Russia wants UN probe into Nord Stream blast. They already got the U.S. probe. I mean, we didn't do it. Where's my ice cream? Russian Parliament's Committee for International Relations has approved a motion to ask the UN Security Council for an investigation into last September's explosions on the Baltic Sea pipelines, for which they blame on the U.S. The motion was introduced on Tuesday and is expected to be approved by the State Duma later this week. The proposal describes the blast as an act of international terrorism and a monstrous sabotage, calling on the UN to hold accountable both those who gave the order and those who carried it out. The criminal act has threatened the security of all of Eurasia, TASS reported, quoting the text of the document. U.S. President Joe Biden's administration gave the illegal order and bears full responsibility for the multi-billion-dollar damage to the infrastructure of Russia, Germany, France, and the Netherlands, according to the document. It describes the pipeline sabotage as inflicting long-term damage to the security, economy, and environment of the entire region. The lawmakers are referring to last week's expose by America. Oh, well, I'm not going to go into the history. You know that. Nuts. I don't expect it to go anywhere because it's the UN. But I don't know. It's stupid. Why do you just keep doing something if it never yields results? And the question I'm asking is, why does Russia keep going to the UN and saying, hey, would you look into this? Because this looks a little fishy. Because, they just investigate themselves and, well, no harm, no foul. Fun how that works. All the way up the government ladder. They just investigate themselves. Oh, and, gotta have qualified immunity because we gotta be responsible for our own actions. Well, Kremlin warns about NATO's role in Ukraine conflict. I thought this was probably important words to pay attention to here. NATO's involvement in the Ukraine conflict is becoming more obvious by the day, despite claims to the contrary, Kremlin spokesman Dmitry Peskov said on Tuesday. NATO is an organization that is hostile to us, Peskov told reporters. They are confirming this hostility every day and are going out of their way to make their involvement in the conflict around Ukraine a lot clearer. Peskov said the military bloc's activities demand certain precautionary measures from Moscow. He noted that the U.S.-led alliance has shared intelligence with Ukraine and that all of NATO's military infrastructure is working against Russia. Moscow goes into the history there, and more history. That's just going into the history of everything else. So I just wanted to read through and make sure I didn't miss anything. But, other words are saying we're getting tired of it. And then I thought this was crazy coming out of Bloomberg. NATO eyes fighting 2 wars. I'm telling you, they've got a mission. They have to bring us to our knees so that we accept whatever it is that they're willing to give us. It's crazy. NATO is set to adopt a guidance that lays out plans for a scenario in which member states find themselves fighting on the home front and beyond the borders of the alliance at the same time, Bloomberg reported on Tuesday. This comes as the U.S. increasingly shifts its priorities to confronting China. The classified document is is to be discussed and signed off on by NATO defense ministers during a 2-day summit in Brussels that starts on Tuesday. The news outlet, I can't get the syntax right for nothing. Members will be asked to prepare national plans for future military engagements. Guidance will map out ways for NATO to engage in a high intensity, and I can't speak, so-called Article 5 conflict, defending a NATO nation attacked by a foreign party under the treaty's mutual defense provision, and an out-of-area non-Article 5 event. The contents of the guideline were revealed to Bloomberg by people with the matter. While NATO bills itself as a defensive alliance, it has extensive record of engaging in hostilities on foreign soil, including in Yugoslavia in the 1990s and against Libya in 2011. Critics regard the bloc as a tool of U.S. foreign policy that is aligned with Washington's goals and in rivalry with China and Russia. So yeah. Fun times. Have a sip or two of coffee. Right. Yeah, I mean, I think they're whitewashing about every bit of important news there could be right at this moment. Now, I don't watch mainstream like at all. I don't watch TV or anything like that. I don't go to mainstream websites. I just don't. RT's probably the most mainstream I go to. So I don't often know what kind of propaganda they're doing, but Lord knows they're probably still talking about the Super Bowl and the halftime show and all of that stuff. I don't know. The only time that they tell you about anything is when they have an agenda. When they want you scared, or they want you to spend money or whatever, that's the only time that they'll, tell you anything. You never know whether or not the information you're getting from mainstream media or the government is true or not. There's no way to know. They have proven not just as liars, that's one thing, but also incompetent. So, incompetent liars. So, you're best off at just make sure that you're capable of self-rescue. Because at this point, our government can't even wipe its own ass. So, it is what it is. Let's see. High U.S. inflation could last a decade, says an investment expert. Well, that's nice to know. I mean, yeah, that would be great, wouldn't it? Wouldn't it be great? A high rate of inflation in the U.S. is likely to be far stickier and longer lasting than many have predicted, the chief investment officer at Smead Capital Management, Bill Smead, told CNBC on Tuesday. The comments came ahead of a much-anticipated report by the U.S. Labor Department, which reported an annual inflation growth of 6.4%. The enthusiasm right now is the hope that we'll get a friendly Fed out of a soft landing, and we do not believe that is going to be the case, Smead stated. We think the inflation is going to be far stickier and longer lasting, in fact, a decade, because in the United States we have incredibly favorable demographics, he said. Earlier this month, the Federal Reserve raised its benchmark interest rate by a quarter percentage point. Fed Governor Michelle Bowman has warned the regulator will need to continue to hike interest rates to bring inflation back down to the central bank's 2% target. According to Smead, the Fed will find it tough to tame inflation despite the recent rate hikes. We have 92 million people between 22 and 42, and they're all going to spend their money on necessities the next 10 years, whether the stock markets are good or bad, he noted. They're just going to be living their life. The economy should be pretty good, and the Fed's going to have a hard time controlling inflation. Wouldn't this be unreal if this was actually going to be 100% honest? And so for the next 10 years, we would all just struggle to barely make ends meet and not be able to have anything extra, do anything extra. Couldn't you imagine if we lived that kind of a lifestyle for 10 years or so? Couldn't you imagine if somebody walked up after that time and said, you know what? Let's do this, right? You guys, you just work your asses off. You never get to enjoy anything leisurely. So here's what we're going to do. For X amount of money per month, you can rent this. You can rent it. Not for sale anywhere. And probably after about 10 years, you would be damn well happy to own nothing, as long as you got to do something. I don't know, just a crazy thought. I don't know the answer. Because the monster that we're up against is huge. And it knows everything about us. It has a complete monopoly on violence. I don't have a good answer. Certainly not a pretty answer. Anyway, let's do some headlines and get the hell out of here so I can get trash out. Yeah, do your job, damn it. Sure I will. Oh, sorry. Today I have 3 people in my head. Let's see. I gotta have more coffee. There should be 4 people in my head. One of them fell asleep. Oh, man. Holy cow, do we have a crazy time ahead of us. All right, let's do some headlines. Starting off with 2 more trains derail in the U.S. And again, you would have never heard about them if it wouldn't be for this Ohio incident. Russia to reroute oil exports to friendly states, says an official. Soaring energy costs drive Swiss inflation higher, says data. Let's see. Russia ready to help India with tanks, says a senior official. And I got to thinking about that. The last I knew, India and China weren't like best buds. That's just interesting. Let's see. U.S. pushing Ukraine to fight to the end, says Washington Post. Yeah, the end of Ukraine or the end of the United States and Ukraine and Europe and... Yeah, you mean that end? Dollar crash coming. I think... Yeah, actually I read that one. Host of Eurasian bloc military drill announced. Wheat prices surge on Ukraine harvest concerns, says media. More food supply. Brave Ukrainians doing dirty work, ex-Pentagon chief says in prank call. Washington ally wants missiles ahead of schedule. Well, that's nice. I still haven't gotten my damn F-15. Let's see. Ukraine stepping up terror attacks, says Moscow. Oh, this was actually the article I read. Money magic trick may land man in Russian jail. Moscow weighs in on spy balloon saga. You know, they had their episode of the miniseries. Brexit costs to UK economy revealed. Ex-top official enters 2024 presidential race. BBC offices raided in India. Kremlin assesses NATO's role in Ukraine conflict. Oh, actually I read that one. EU adds Russia to tax haven blacklist. Hungary wants apology for outrageous claims by U.S. official. Covered that one. Serbians back non-existent Kosovo proposal, says a survey. Turkey has message for other nations. Italian PM to testify in murder trial. U.S. shows off F-35 in India, and I'm sure that's to give China a middle finger. Russia wants UN probe. Oh, I covered that. Trump wants firing squads and televised executions, says Rolling Stone. That would be kind of cool. No, I'm kidding. He would probably make it pay-per-view, though. Let's see. Lithuanian politician quotes Hitler in mayoral debate. U.S. sanctions on Iran illegal, says UN experts. And lastly, U.S. wants to send Iranian weapons to Ukraine, says Wall Street Journal. Crazy, crazy, crazy. All right. Well, I am going to get the hex out of here because, I don't know, I can. I want to get trashed out and I'm ready for bed, I think. Anyway, I hope you all have a good night. God willing, I'll be back tomorrow. We'll do it again. Hope to see you. As always, God bless you. We love you. Be one with your spirit. And shalom.